kind of have to think of what the response would be and respond to yourself. So it's a more difficult process.
When you do these characters, is it difficult for you to have to get back into that mode weeks later? Let's say when you do it again. And what happens if you forget the voice?
That's a good question. They actually do give you some kind of a temp. They'll record that and they'll play that back for you right beforehand.
So
if it's something you haven't,
sound in.
yeah. So if you haven't had that one locked in, of course, King of the Hill we've done for 13 years, so that wasn't a problem.
Let's take some phone calls when we come back. All right, Stephen Root, our special guest, right here on Coast to Coast AM. We'll give you the numbers in just a moment. Next hour, we'll start our special report into this swine flu scare. However, when we come right back, it's actor Stephen Root and your phone calls right here on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norrie. We've got Stephen Root with you here. And Stephen, of course, has got another movie coming out called Unthinkable with Samuel Jackson sometime in the late fall, maybe November-ish. And, of course, you know him from Office Space, News Radio, where you played the eccentric station owner, didn't you?
Well, it was great because you never knew whether that guy was an idiot or an idiot savant.
And the great voice in King of the Hill. It's a retired Marine sergeant, wasn't it?
Yeah. William Fontaine de la Tour d'Autrive.
Who's always depressed about something.
Yes.
Well, I guess everybody's depressed with his economic calamity.
He never got a gal to actually hold on to for a while, so that would depress anybody.
He's down.
Yeah.
The glasses that you wore in Office Space when you played Milton, your eyes must have been 2 inches wide.
Well, I tell you, the lenses had to have been almost 2 inches thick, probably 1.5 inches, that I had to wear contacts behind to be able to see it all. And then that necessitated no depth perception whatsoever. So anything that I had to reach for, I had to practice that because I would miss it by 2 or 3 inches the first time, and then I would grab it and take it. But I'd have to actually rehearse in those things.
How long did it take to film that part?
My part in Office Space?
Yeah.
I was only there for... a couple of weeks and a half, 2.5 weeks. Yeah. We filmed it in Austin, where Mike was living at the time and still is. And we actually were able to go down there for a 10-year reunion a couple of months ago, see the film on the big screen with, 1,200 screaming people. It was great.
Hilarious.
It was so fun.
Absolutely hilarious.
It was great for me to be able to sit back and watch actually all the other performances, Ron Livingston in there and Gary Cole, just beautiful stuff.
By the way, we need more of the space that you're sitting at right now. Would you move back a little bit more, Stephen, all the way to the back?
All the way to the back? All the way. Oh, yes. No, I was told. I didn't have to.
I love it. Let's go to some of the phones. You ready? Let's go to Louisville, Kentucky. First-time caller, Tim. Welcome to Coast. You're with Stephen Root.
How you doing, Stephen?
Okay, Tim, how you, man?
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about the Ocho. I got to say, I loved you in Dodgeball. That was a premier performance. Thank you for that so much.
Well, thank you. I would thank Ben for letting me do it with him. It was just a blast. Really had a good time.
Another classic. Cleveland, Ohio, we go. Michael, east of the Rockies. Michael, take it away.
Steve, hey, George.
Hi, Mike.
I got a question for you. Does it take a certain amount of talent to do acting in cartoons?
None whatsoever.
I'm surprised. I don't have any talent. That's why I call talk shows.
Michael, it does. You've got to be just as good an actor in cartoons as you do in real life.
Well, I hope so. But, a lot of people say, it's a different thing doing animation. It's really not. I mean, you're doing a character, and your whole body does the character, whether or not, you see it or not. You hear the voice.
You were going to go into journalism for a while earlier.
Well, yeah, I was at the University of Florida for a couple of years considering journalism, but it didn't catch with me, and I took an elective, an acting class, and started doing acting scenes for student directors there, and realized I could probably fake my way through that, and here we are.
And nowadays, when Stephen Root is called for a part, I bet you don't even have to audition anymore. They just call you and say, "We got a part for you."
Well, I'm fortunate enough to get more offers than auditions these days. If I do audition, it's for it's for a director who is not familiar with the work, or some very big person who doesn't know the work so well. So I'm happy to go in and do it for him.
And Stephen, you know what I don't know how many people tell you this, but what you do in your profession, you touch people's lives. You make them laugh,
Oh, thank you, George.
And that's so important, I think, nowadays, to give people this opportunity of an outlet. And that's what you do for so many people.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel a responsibility for that as well at this late stage of my career. And so I'm trying to pick stuff that means something to me, something that's always something that's well written, and something I think people would dig.
Good for you. Next up, we go to California, west of the Rockies. Jason, go ahead.
Mr. Root, it's a pleasure. I love your work.
Thanks, sir.
I always thought that one of your more compelling dramatic roles was playing Richard Clark in The Path to 9/11.
Oh, thanks. I love doing that.
Yeah, well, I know it got, kind of caught up in political controversy. I don't want to get you into trouble by having addressed that, but I was wondering if you could just talk about your experience on it and whether you think it's ever going to see the light of day on DVD.
Well, I think they have had a lot of trouble putting out a DVD. It was kind of, they didn't want to do it, and I don't know whether they will. I tell you what, I think there's some fantastic performances in it. I loved being able to do a historical character. I did one for Tom Hanks in From the Earth to the Moon, played Chris Kraft. Loved doing that. So it's always fun and interesting and informative to do somebody who's still alive and still with us.
That was a classic series, Earth to the Moon.
Oh, fantastic! Tom just did a great job with it.
Loved it.
Great casting, great on kind of a shoestring budget, did an amazing job.
I think there were 3 parts, if I remember, right?
12
parts.
12 parts.
Gosh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
And I think they've put it out since the last couple of 3 years. They've put a new version of it. It's worth looking at.
All right, next up, let's go to Sedona, Arizona. Blair, you are on Coast to Coast. Hey, Blair.
Hey, thanks, George. Humor's the divine antidote to the exaltation of ego, eh?
Yeah, you got that right.
You got it, pal.
Hey, Mr. Root,
Yes,
what
sir.
insights can you relay while making Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That might help Americans cope with the current economics. And I have a second quick question, if possible.
Okay. I love doing a period piece just as a character actor, because you want to go back and put yourself in those clothes and see how people lived. We shot it in Mississippi in the height of summer, and we felt the dust, we felt the pain.
Yeah. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Wow.
Oh, there are many. There are many.
There's so many good ones. I don't know. I love the one that's in the movie that I did with Clooney recently, The Men Who Stare at Goats, which is about the the psychic army that was played around with in the early 80s. I think that's a good one.
Absolutely. We've had many of those players who participated in that on the program, Stephen. And part of me thinks that it's still going on.
Well, it's going to get a lot more play once this thing comes out.
Absolutely. Let's go to Hickson, Tennessee. Blake, welcome to Coast. You're on with us. Hey, Blake.
Hi, how are you, Stephen?
Pretty good, man.
I was calling to see what were I guess basically some of your funniest experiences on working with King of the Hill.
Oh, gosh.
That you can repeat on live radio.
That I can tell for real? I don't know. I tell you, we're very much like a family on that show. We've been together for 13 years. We've seen people grow up, have children. Pam Siegel-Adlon, who plays Bobby on the show, was unmarried when we started, and now has 3 grown teenagers and is married, and it's a very much family-like experience. But we just love doing the show, and as far as anything being strange or funny, we just had. I think the greatest thing that happened to me was I got to be Governor Ann Richards' boyfriend on the show, and she actually came in and did the show. Recorded it with us live. It was fantastic.
How's Hollywood faring during this economic crunch?
It's tough, especially if you're not an established player. I would, if you're coming up now as an actor, it's very, very tough to find a juicy role because